Have you ever been the person nobody noticed? The one who was never picked first, never the favorite, never the one people got excited about. You were there, you were present, but somehow you were always just background, always just overlooked. In Europe, millions of people grew up exactly this way, passed over in classrooms, ignored in family gatherings, invisible in social circles. And most people assume those individuals would stay invisible forever. Psychology says something completely different happened instead. 1. Being overlooked forced them to build from the inside. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation development. When external validation never arrives, the brain has two choices: collapse inward or build inward. People who were consistently overlooked in European households and schools did not receive praise. They did not receive encouragement. They did not receive recognition. So they stopped waiting for it. They built their own internal standard, their own internal drive. And internal drive, psychology shows, is significantly more powerful and more durable than anything built on outside approval. They were not given confidence. They constructed it quietly, alone, without anyone watching. 2. Invisibility taught them to observe everything. Research in social psychology shows that people who spend years feeling overlooked develop an extraordinary capacity for observation. While others were busy being seen, they were busy seeing. They noticed how people behave when they thought no one was watching. They understood social dynamics that others never had to learn because everything was handed to them. This observational intelligence made them deeply strategic. Not manipulative, strategic. They understood rooms, people, and patterns at a level that those who were always noticed simply never needed to develop. 3. They stopped needing permission. Psychology research on self-authorization shows that individuals who were never validated by others eventually stop seeking that validation entirely. And when that shift happens, something extraordinary occurs. They begin to act without waiting for approval, without waiting to be chosen, without waiting for someone to finally notice them. They choose themselves. And a person who has learned to choose themselves after years of being overlooked is one of the most quietly unstoppable forces in any room. And this is the part that most people never see coming. Because being overlooked does not just build quiet strength. It builds a very specific kind of intelligence that cannot be taught in any classroom, cannot be developed in any workshop. It only comes from years of watching the world from the outside while everyone else was busy living on the inside. 4. They became impossible to manipulate. Psychologists who study social influence say that the people most vulnerable to manipulation are those who desperately need to be liked, needed, or noticed. They will compromise. They will bend. They will agree to things that hurt them just to stay in someone's good graces. But the person who was overlooked for years has already lost that need. They already know what it feels like to be without approval. And surviving that taught them something extraordinary, that they do not need it, which means no one can use it against them. A person who does not need your validation cannot be controlled by the removal of it. 5. Silence became their most powerful tool. Research in behavioral psychology shows that people who were overlooked early in life often develop a deeply strategic relationship with silence. They learn that speaking when no one is listening is exhausting, so they stop speaking unnecessarily. They chose their words carefully. They waited. They observed. And when they finally did speak, it carried weight, because people who speak rarely are always heard more clearly than people who speak constantly. Their silence was never emptiness, it was preparation. 6. They were never broken by being overlooked. They were built by it. This is what psychology wants you to understand most. Being overlooked is not the same as being unworthy. It never was. The child who was passed over, the teenager who was never picked, the adult who was always underestimated, none of them were lacking. They were simply developing in a direction that required no audience. And that direction, psychology shows, almost always leads somewhere that the people who overlook them never expected and can never fully explain. If you were always the one nobody noticed, psychology does not call you forgotten. It calls you unfinished, still building, still becoming. And the most dangerous version of you has not even arrived yet. Were you always the one who got overlooked? Tell us in the comments below. And if this video finally said what you have always felt, subscribe. Because on this channel, we do not just talk about people. We see the ones who were never seen.